In this video, we're going to walk through the global settings in Pro ArpSeq. These are the controls that affect everything, every preset, every pattern, every note that comes out of the plugin. If the arpeggiator and sequencer are the engine, this is the control panel that decides how it behaves. Let's start with retrig. Retrig controls what happens when you play notes. In continuous mode, the engine starts from step 1 when nothing is playing, but once it's running, adding more notes won't reset it. In one-shot mode, it starts from step 1, but the next time you play, it continues from wherever it left off. With retrig set to off, the sequence never resets at all. It just keeps moving forward, regardless of what you play. So this one setting alone can completely change how the instrument feels under your fingers. Next is loop. When loop is on, the engine repeats continuously. It will always cycle back to step 1. When loop is off, it plays once and stops, simple on the surface. But it becomes more interesting when combined with hold. Hold determines whether the engine keeps playing after you release the keys. When hold is off, everything stops as soon as you lift your fingers. When hold is on, it keeps running indefinitely. However, if loop is off, hold doesn't really do anything, because it only plays once anyway. So these controls don't just work individually, they interact with each other. Now let's look at recording. In arpeggiator mode, when you enable record, you can choose how many bars to capture, or just record a single loop. Recording starts as soon as you play notes. And once it's finished, you can drag the results straight into your DAW. It's a quick way of turning performance into editable MIDI. In sequencer mode, recording works in 2 ways. Preset recording captures what the plugin is generating internally. External recording captures MIDI coming from your DAW. You can record a single loop or keep recording continuously until you stop it. So whether you're capturing ideas or building structured parts, it's all there. The preview function gives you a built-in sound source. You can switch between a sine wave and a saw wave, which means you can hear exactly what's happening without needing to load a synth. It's simple, but very effective when you're designing patterns. Trigger Bank is a performance feature that allows you to assign different patterns to specific keys, so they can be triggered or switched in real time while you're playing. It effectively turns the keyboard into a way of navigating and controlling multiple patterns on the fly. This is a powerful part of the plugin and deserves proper focus, so it will be covered in detail in a separate video. Now let's talk about control. Across all the knobs and sliders, you can hold Control on Windows or Command on Mac to make fine adjustments. This slows everything down, giving you much more precision. You can reset any value by right-clicking the mouse and selecting the default option. Moving on to the main parameters. Transpose shifts the entire output up or down in semitones, within a range of -24 to +24. It's a quick way to change key without touching your input. Steps defines how long your sequence is, from 1 step all the way up to 128. Short sequences feel tight and repetitive. Longer ones give you evolving patterns. Speed controls how fast the sequence runs relative to your DAW. You can slow it right down or push it much faster, depending on the feel you're after. Swing adds groove by shifting the timing of every second step. At low values, it's subtle. Push it further, and it becomes much more rhythmic and expressive. Gate and offset shape the timing of each note. Gate controls how long the note plays, and offset controls when it starts within the step. Together, these two give you a lot of control over the feel of the sequence. Velocity controls how strongly notes are played. Velocity bias is where things get more expressive. This blends between the velocity programmed in the step and the velocity from your MIDI input. At one extreme, everything is fixed and consistent. At the other, it fully reflects how you play. Anywhere in between gives you a balance of both. Note length sets how long each step lasts and can be overridden when needed. In arpeggiator mode, range controls how many octaves your chord is spread across. Increasing the range expands the chord and creates more notes, which can make patterns feel bigger and more complex. In sequencer mode, bend range is an information field that shows the current pitch bend range set in your DAW. This directly determines the maximum slide distance available between notes in the sequencer. The main menu in Pro ArpSeq is where you access everything that sits around the core workflow. It's not about building patterns directly. It's about getting to the tools, information and options that support how you use the plugin. A simple left click opens it up, and from there, everything is laid out clearly. You've got Manual, which takes you to the full documentation if you want the detailed reference. Then Tutorials, which takes you to the video guides. So whether you prefer reading or watching, both are right there. Next is Buy Pro ArpSeq, where you can activate the plugin or enter your license key. And Buy Presets, which takes you to additional preset packs if you want to expand your library. Then there's Settings, which gives you access to the global configuration, which is documented fully in the online manual. And About, where you can check version details, licensing information, and any remaining trial time. So overall, the main menu is the control center for everything outside of pattern creation. It keeps all the essential stuff in one place, easy to reach, and out of the way when you don't need it. In this video, we're going to focus on how you actually shape and manipulate steps inside Pro ArpSeq. Up to now, everything has been about how the engine behaves globally. This is where you start getting hands-on with individual steps, and this is where things get creative. Let's start with the playback start point. By default, the sequence begins at step 1, but you can right-click any step number and set it as the starting point. That means playback will begin from that step instead. It's a simple way to shift the feel of a pattern without changing anything else. Next is selecting a loop area. You can hold Control on Windows or Command on Mac, click a step and drag across a range. That defines a loop region, and the sequence will repeat just that section. It also automatically enables loop mode. So instead of looping the entire pattern, you can isolate a small section and work with that. Now let's look at randomization. You can click and drag across steps to select a group. If no steps are selected, randomization applies to everything. But once you've selected a group, only those steps are affected. This gives you controlled randomness, which is far more useful than total chaos. If you want to clear that selection, just right-click a step and choose to clear the randomization selection. Toggle all randomization is accessed by right-clicking on any step and selecting the option from the menu. This inverts the current randomization selection. Instead of selecting all the steps you want to randomize, you can select the steps you want to exclude, then use Toggle all randomization to flip the selection. For example, if you select just the first step of each section, such as steps 1, 5, 9 and 13, and then toggle, the selection is inverted, so all the other steps are selected instead. This is a much faster way of working when you only want to protect a small number of steps and apply randomization to everything else. There's also loop mode at the step level, which simply toggles looping on and off. This ties directly into the loop area you've defined. Then there's freeze mode. When freeze mode is active, the visible steps stay fixed in place and the playback cursor moves across them. It's useful when you want a stable visual reference while the sequence is running, especially when things get more complex. Now we get into rhythmic shaping. Divider allows you to split a single step into multiple smaller notes. You can divide it into 2, 3, or 4 equal parts. On top of that, you can apply velocity variations across those divisions. For example, starting softer and getting louder, or the other way around, or even randomizing the velocities within the split. It's a quick way to add movement and detail inside a single step. Strum controls how notes within a step are staggered in time instead of all playing at once. The main purpose of this is to simulate the natural strumming of a guitar, where notes are played in quick succession rather than all hitting at the same moment. This works particularly well with guitar-style sounds and VSTs, but can also add movement and realism to any chord-based pattern. Left-click to select a strum mode and right-click to clear it. There are 4 main modes. Off means no strum is applied, so all notes play at the same time. Up staggers each note, starting from the highest note. Down staggers each note, starting from the lowest note. Up-down alternates the strum direction, with an upward strum followed by a downward strum. This only has an effect when a divider is applied to the step, as the direction changes across the divided notes. Down-up does the opposite, with a downward strum followed by an upward strum. And again, this only takes effect when a divider is active. You can also set the gap in milliseconds between each note, which controls how tight or how spread out the strum feels. Next is step-level note length. Each step follows the global note length by default, but you can override it individually. That means some steps can be short and percussive, while others can be long and sustained. Velocity controls how hard each step is played. You can left-click and drag up or down to set the velocity, or right-click to enter an exact value. Each row includes a dice control for randomization. If the randomizer is set to manual, left-clicking the dice will generate new random values immediately, either across all steps or just across the selected randomizer steps. If you right-click the dice, you open the randomizer parameter box, where you can define the value range and choose whether randomization runs in manual or automatic mode. In automatic mode, new random values are recalculated each time the pattern cycles back to the beginning. In manual mode, the values stay as they are until you click the dice again. Offset and gate work in a very similar way, but here you're shaping timing rather than dynamics. You drag the left side to adjust the start offset and the right side to adjust gate length, or right-click to enter exact values. The dice works the same way here as well. In manual mode, a left click on the dice generates a fresh set of random values and then keeps them. Right-clicking the dice opens the randomizer parameter box, where you define the range and switch between manual and automatic randomization. If automatic mode is enabled, the plugin recalculates fresh random values every time the pattern returns to the start. Probability controls the chance of a step actually playing. You can left-click and drag to set the probability, or right-click to enter the exact value directly. The randomizer behavior is the same here too. Left-clicking the dice applies randomization when manual mode is active. Right-clicking the dice opens the parameter box so you can set the range and decide whether the row uses manual or automatic randomization. Manual mode holds the current random result until you trigger another one. Automatic mode recalculates new values on each full cycle of the pattern. Mod Wheel lets you assign modulation values per step. You can drag to set the value or right-click for precise entry. As with the other rows, the dice is used to generate random values. In manual mode, clicking the dice gives you one new random pass which then remains in place. Right-clicking the dice opens the parameter box, where you set the range and choose manual or automatic operation. When automatic mode is enabled, the row is re-randomized each time the pattern loops back to the beginning. CC number 1 adds a lane for MIDI control data. First, you choose the MIDI controller number. Then you set the CC value by dragging up or down, or by right-clicking to enter it exactly. The same randomizer system applies here. CC number 2 works exactly the same way as CC number 1, giving you a second lane of assignable MIDI control. A simple way to think about all 6 of these rows is this. Each one gives you direct control, exact value entry, and the option to add controlled randomness. Manual randomization gives you a new result only when you ask for it. Automatic randomization keeps refreshing the values every time the pattern comes back round to step 1. In this video, we're going to explore the arpeggiator in ArpSeq. This is where chords are turned into patterns. Instead of playing notes all at once, the engine interprets those notes over time based on the steps you define. The arpeggiator can work with up to 7 notes at once. Each lane represents one note from the chord you're playing, starting from the lowest note at the bottom and moving up to the highest note at the top. Now, this is important. A single step isn't limited to just one note. A step can contain multiple notes, depending on how the operator is set and how many notes are in the chord. So rather than thinking of each step as triggering a single note, it's better to think of it as defining how one or more notes from the chord are played at that point in time. Let's make this practical. To assign behavior to a step, simply left-click on it. This opens the operator menu, which is where all the pattern logic comes from. If you want to repeat your last action, hold Control on Windows or Command on Mac and click another step. To clear a step, hold Control or Command, add Shift and click. You can also select multiple steps by clicking and dragging across them. Once selected, you can move them by holding Shift and dragging, or copy them by holding Control or Command. Now let's look at transpose. Each step can be transposed up or down by up to 2 octaves. This allows you to expand a simple chord into a much wider pattern without changing the notes you're playing. For example, try taking a basic pattern and transpose just 1 or 2 steps up an octave. You'll immediately hear more movement and variation, even though the input chord hasn't changed. Now let's get into the operator menu, which appears when you left-click a step. This is where the real behavior comes from. In the General section, you have options like Random, which selects notes from the chord at random, and Highest, which always selects the highest note. Hold will carry forward all notes from the previous step, keeping them sustained into the current step. Tie works differently. Tie is lane-specific, so it only applies to the individual note in that lane. This means you can selectively carry forward certain notes while allowing others to change. Repeat will repeat the previous note or notes, reinforcing the rhythm without changing pitch. Moving on to the combo section. High-low select the highest and lowest notes in the chord. Exclude high-low removes those outer notes and focuses on what's in between, which gives a more subtle mid-range pattern. Odd will play only the odd-numbered notes in the chord, and even will play only the even-numbered notes. Join creates a pattern that starts with the lowest note, then the highest note, and continues alternating progressively inward until the notes meet in the middle. Join plus follows the same pattern as join, but if it follows a join step, it skips the first pair of notes and continues from the next position in the sequence. Spread creates the reverse of join. It starts from the middle of the chord and alternates outward until it reaches the outermost notes. Spread plus follows the same pattern as spread, but if it follows a spread step, it skips the first pair of notes and continues from the next position in the sequence. Stairs up creates a pattern that starts from the lowest note and moves 2 notes up and 1 note down, continuing this movement upward. Stairs down is the reverse, starting from the highest note and moving downward using the same pattern. Stairs up down begins with the stairs up pattern, then reverses direction and continues using the same notes in a downward pattern. Stairs down up begins with the stairs down pattern, then reverses direction and continues using the same notes in an upward pattern. These are great for creating patterns that feel more composed and less repetitive. Now let's look at the up operators. Up 1 will play the next note moving upwards through the chord, starting from the first note. Up 2 will play the next note moving upwards through the chord, skipping 1 note each time. Up 3 will play the next note moving upwards through the chord, skipping 2 notes each time. Up 1 repeat will move upwards through the chord and continue repeating notes until the highest note is reached. Up 2 repeat will move upwards through the chord, skipping 1 note each time and continue repeating until the highest note is reached. Up 3 repeat will move upwards through the chord, skipping 2 notes each time and continue repeating until the highest note is reached. Up 1 double repeat will move upwards through the chord, repeating each note twice as it progresses. Up 2 double repeat will move upwards through the chord, skipping 1 note each time and repeating each note twice. Up 3 double repeat will move upwards through the chord, skipping 2 notes each time and repeating each note twice. Now let's look at the down operators. Down 1 will play the next note moving downwards through the chord. Down 2 will play the next note moving downwards through the chord, skipping 1 note each time. Down 3 will play the next note moving downwards through the chord, skipping 2 notes each time. Down 1 repeat will move downwards through the chord and continue repeating notes until the end of the sequence is reached. Down 2 repeat will move downwards through the chord, skipping 1 note each time and continue repeating until the end of the sequence is reached. Down 3 repeat will move downwards through the chord, skipping 2 notes each time and continue repeating until the end of the sequence is reached. Down 1 double repeat will move downwards through the chord, repeating each note twice as it progresses. Down 2 double repeat will move downwards through the chord, skipping 1 note each time and repeating each note twice. Down 3 double repeat will move downwards through the chord, skipping 2 notes each time and repeating each note twice. Now let's look at the chord operators. Standard will play all notes of the chord as they were input. Octave down will play all notes of the chord 1 octave lower. 2 octaves down will play all notes of the chord 2 octaves lower. Octave up will play all notes of the chord 1 octave higher. 2 octaves up will play all notes of the chord 2 octaves higher. Now let's look at the note operators. Selecting a note number will output that specific note from the chord. Negative values will output the selected note 1 or 2 octaves lower. Positive values will output the selected note 1 or 2 octaves higher. This is useful if you want to lock certain steps to specific notes, rather than relying on patterns. Fixed note allows you to output a completely fixed note value, regardless of the chord. This is especially useful if you're controlling another plugin that responds to specific MIDI notes, such as articulation switching. If you want to clear a step, you can set it to None. If you want to clear everything, use None All. For editing, you can right-click to open the Bulk Edit menu. From here, you can clear to erase everything in the current step. Delete to delete the current step and shift everything left. Insert left to insert a step to the left. Insert right to insert a step to the right. Duplicate insert duplicates existing steps and moves all steps to the right. Duplicate overwrite duplicates existing steps and overwrites everything in the next step. Finally, you can import MIDI directly into the arpeggiator by dragging a MIDI file into the step area. That's the arpeggiator. Once you start experimenting with these operators, you'll realize you're not just creating patterns, you're shaping how a chord evolves over time. And because each step can contain multiple notes, you've got far more control than a traditional arpeggiator. In this video, we're going to look at the sequencer mode inside Pro ArpSeq. To activate it, left mouse click Sequencer. Unlike the arpeggiator, the sequencer creates a MIDI sequence that's triggered by a single incoming note. If more than one incoming note is played, Pro ArpSeq uses the lowest note as the reference note. The sequencer uses a piano roll. The MIDI pattern you create is relative to the root note, which is shown in orange on the virtual keyboard. This means the pattern can be moved around musically depending on the incoming note. The sequencer can create monophonic or polyphonic output. To expand the piano roll, left mouse click the up arrow. This gives you more vertical space, making it easier to work with a wider note range. To reduce the piano roll again, left mouse click the down arrow. Use this when you want a more compact view. To change the root note, right mouse click a note on the piano roll keyboard. That note becomes the new root note. The pattern is then interpreted relative to that root. To add a note, left mouse click an empty note position in the piano roll. A new note will be created at that position. To remove a note, left mouse click the note. That deletes the note from the piano roll. To move a note, left mouse click the note and drag it to a new position. This lets you change both pitch position and timing position inside the sequence. To resize a note, left mouse click the note's left or right edge and drag. To add a note slide, right mouse click a note that has another note to its right. Then left mouse click the activate icon. This activates a slide from that note. To adjust where a slide begins, right mouse click the start note of the slide. Then left mouse click on the slider and adjust the slide starting position. This lets you control when the slide begins during the note. To disable a note slide, right mouse click the start note of the slide. Then left mouse click the activate icon again. To select multiple notes, left mouse click and drag a rectangle around a group of notes. Once selected, you can use the arrow keys to move the selected notes. You can press delete to remove them. Or you can grab the selection with the mouse and drag it to move the notes. To copy the selected notes, hold Ctrl on Windows or Command on Mac and drag whilst left mouse clicking. To open the bulk edit menu, right mouse click an empty area. Clear removes all notes in the step. Delete deletes the step and shifts everything left. Insert left inserts a blank step to the left. Insert right inserts a blank step to the right. Duplicate insert inserts a blank step to the right and copies the contents. Duplicate overwrite copies the contents of the step to the next step. You can import an external MIDI file into the sequencer. To do this, drag the MIDI file from your operating system's file system onto the sequencer notes area. ArpSeq will import the MIDI into the sequencer piano roll. You can export a sequencer preset into the arpeggiator by clicking Export to ARP. This is used to capture the rhythmic elements from the sequencer and move them into the arpeggiator. After exporting, the arpeggiator will show the imported rhythmic structure from the sequencer. In this video, we're going to look at presets and the browser system inside ArpSeq. This is where you load, organize, save, edit, and manage your presets. The browser is designed around folders, categories, and preset files, making it easy to build your own library structure and quickly find sounds later on. First, let's look at where presets are stored on your computer. On Windows, presets are stored in On Mac, presets are stored in This is important because the browser reads directly from this folder structure. To open the preset browser, left-click on the preset name. This opens the browser window where you'll see three main areas: Folders, Categories, and Presets. By default, presets are shown. You can narrow down the displayed presets using filters. First, you can select a folder. Then you can filter further using categories. You can also use the search box to search by preset name. For example, typing the word bass will only show presets containing the word bass in the preset name. At the top of the browser, you can also filter by preset type. A shows arpeggiator presets. S shows sequencer presets. This makes it easier to focus only on the type of preset you want to work with. Now let's look at how the browser structure works behind the scenes. The browser uses your operating system's folder structure directly. Inside the main presets folder, you can create as many folders as you want. Inside those folders, you create category folders. And inside the category folders, you store the actual preset files. This structure is important because the browser reads these folders to build the browser display automatically. To create a completely new preset, left-click the New Preset icon. This initializes a fresh preset, so you can begin building something from scratch. To save a preset, left-click the Save Preset icon. This opens the Save menu. Help explains how preset storage works. Save updates the existing preset. And Save As allows you to create a completely new preset file using your operating system's native file browser. it's important to understand the difference between save and save as. Save overwrites the current preset. Save as creates a new preset file. So if you want to create variations without losing the original preset, use Save As. To rename a preset, left-click the Edit Preset icon. This allows you to change the preset name directly. To remove a preset, left-click the Delete Preset icon. As your preset collection grows, good organization becomes important. Because the browser uses real folders and categories from your operating system, you can organize presets into structures that make sense for your workflow. In this video, we're going to look at trigger banks and trigger keys inside ArpSeq. MIDI keys allow you to load presets directly from specific MIDI keys. So instead of opening the preset browser and manually selecting a preset, you can press an assigned MIDI key and ArpSeq will automatically load the preset connected to that key. This is especially useful for live performance, quick preset switching, or building a setup where different keys trigger different arpeggiator or sequencer patterns. A trigger bank defines which MIDI keys will trigger which presets. Think of the trigger bank as a map. Each key can be assigned to a preset, and when you strike that key, the associated preset is loaded. So the trigger bank entry isn't the preset itself, it's the container that stores the key to preset assignments. To add a new trigger bank, left-click on the bank name. This opens the trigger bank menu. From the menu, left-click Create New. This creates a new trigger bank that you can then edit and assign presets to. To select a different trigger bank, left-click the bank name. This opens the list of available trigger banks. Then left-click the trigger bank you want to use. Once selected, this becomes the active trigger bank. To edit a trigger bank, left-click the Edit icon. This opens the trigger bank editor. Inside the editor, you'll see the MIDI keys laid out with spaces above them where presets can be assigned. This is where you decide which key loads which preset. To assign a preset to a key, left-click the Add Preset label directly above that key. This opens the preset browser. From the preset browser, choose the preset you want to assign. Once selected, that preset will be linked to that MIDI key. Now, when you strike that assigned key, ArpSeq will automatically load the associated preset. In the preset bank editor, preset types are shown using different colors. Arpeggiator presets are shown in blue. Sequencer presets are shown in purple. This makes it easier to see at a glance what kind of preset is assigned to each trigger key. To delete a preset trigger, right-click on the preset name. This removes that preset assignment from the key. The key is then free to be assigned to another preset or left empty. A good way to use trigger banks is to set up different trigger banks for different musical situations. For example, one trigger bank could be used for a live set. Another could be used for studio writing. Another could hold experimental patterns. So once your trigger bank is set up, you can move between patterns very quickly without diving through menus.